Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Lean Publishing Tip of the Day, where I'm going to be talking a little bit about the Manuscript Versions page that we provide for Leanpub books. Um, as usual, if you're watching the recording of this, you might want to skip ahead to the 2-minute mark where we really get going on the main content of the live stream recording. But in the meantime, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. As usual, there's always a blog post that accompanies each of these tips of the day. Their intention is, sort of like obviously to be enjoyed live by whoever might be around to watch them. But more importantly, they're there as permanent resources for Leanpub authors or new Leanpub authors to watch anytime, to learn about different aspects of Leanpub in a kind of casual way. You just listen to me talking, and there's no pressure or anything like that. And today's Lean Publishing Tip of the Day blog, as always, blog posts can be found on our blog at leanpub.com/blog. You can also find the recording on our YouTube channel at Leanpub. Please, like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. We really appreciate it. If these videos are a little bit too long for you, we also have a playlist of Lean Publishing Tip of the Day clips where we use StreamYard or Opus Clip to extract sort of like meaningful little shorts that are usually 30 seconds to a minute or so long. These, sometimes these get hundreds, sometimes these get thousands, sometimes these get zero views, more or less on YouTube and stuff like that. But people really love the short format. If you want to create a Leanpub book, remember it's free to do so. You go to leanpub.com. And just click in the menu on the right, and you'll find a create a book link in the big old menu there, where you can create a book. We also have an author help center with over 1,000 articles. About 700 or 800 of those currently are for authors, and about 500 or so are for Leanpub readers. This is a really excellent resource that's been built up over the years of like real hands-on work with self-published authors. So there are lots of things in there, not only about writing a book, but about book marketing and publishing a book in progress. So with all that said, we're approaching the 2-minute mark. So 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Lean Publishing Tip of the Day, where we're going to be talking about your manuscript versions page for your book. Anyone who's written a book understands that, the manuscripts are going to be like kind of added to over time. And it's not just that they're kind of like added to, you kind of delete stuff in the past. So at any given moment in time, you can think of your manuscript as being in a particular version state. This is a particularly fun thing for, academics and historians and literary scholars to do, to go back over the kind of process by which, say, an important book or a book by an important person was written. Just totally fascinating thing, seeing what was added, what was cut, the revisions, things like that. Obviously, writing, with computers and things like that, we can do a lot more when it comes to manuscript version or different. Just straight up more than we could do with manuscript version comparisons and stuff in the past. Git and GitHub are basically, like soft. If you're a programmer, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're not, these are basically the most sophisticated textual manuscript versioning systems ever devised. That's because that might sound that's funny. I'm talking about that in the context of books, but software code is all writing. Now imagine, you were writing a book and one typo meant you literally couldn't open the book. Programs kind of are like that. If there's one sort of problem with the code, the program won't run conventionally. And so being able to see what changes have been made when something stops working is a really important part of that, of the software writing process. And so it can actually be, you can use the same kind of tactics and strategies for kind of managing versions of books and book manuscripts as well, if you want to. On Leanpub, the idea of manuscript versions is particularly interesting, I would say, because Leanpub books can be updated anytime. So the published version of the book can be updated with a new version anytime. That new version can be there because you've fixed a typo. That new version can be there because you deleted a sentence. That new version can be there because you added some images or took some away or added a whole new paragraph. Or it can be a big release, and so it can be a whole new chapter has been added to your book that you're publishing serially as you go. This is complicated even further by the fact that now on Leanpub, after many years of people asking for it, we support book reviews. Again, a book review sounds like a relatively simple thing, like a movie review. Movie comes out, you review the movie. A book comes out, you review the book. But imagine that movie was changing over time. What do you make of a review of a movie at stage 1 or stage 2? You've got to have some way of knowing what version of the movie the review was of. And so our manuscript versions page recently had some updates to reflect this kind of thing. So let me take you to a working example of it. Um, uh, I will go to this tab here. So this is the manuscript versions tab for the sample nonfiction theme book. People who've seen these videos before will be familiar with the fact that I use this as an example. Um, if you go to the overview page for your book, which is the sort of, main page that Leanpub authors go to when they discover, they create your first Leanpub book, you find the overview page, probably going to bookmark that, definitely going to remember how to get to it. That's where you can see everything you can do. And one thing you can do is preview your book, which means generate a version of your book from a private one just for you in PDF and EPUB format for you to read and review. So that's my latest manuscript. Make a new version of my book just for me to look at. You can also publish a new version of your book. So that means take my manuscript and make it public. If it's the first time, then that book's for sale for the first time. If the book is already for sale and has been published, that publishes a new version of the book. So anyone who's already bought it can download the latest version now. Anyone who buys it from now on will get this current version until you publish the next version, of course. And so the manuscript versions page is here. So the way it currently works is these numbered versions are published versions of the book. So we're showing you every time you preview, we're kind of saving a version of your manuscript. And every time you publish a version, we're saving a version of your manuscript. If you want to download this version, you click Create Archive. So assuming that works. Live demo kind of often means something might not work exactly the same as you expect it to. Let's just refresh the page. Yeah, so basically what that did was that triggered some download creations, and you can actually click that link to download the manuscript version of your book. This is very cool. You can see the date and timestamp that's in your local time zone where this was done. This can be especially useful if you're collaborating with other people. So you've got like a date and timestamp. It's sort of funny, like down to the second of when your preview was made or when your publish was made. But every time you do this, we save a whole new version of your manuscript, which is really crucial, important for recovering lost work or getting back to a past state where you're like, oh, I really regret having cut this or that thing. Or if one of your co-authors added something that you all decide later to take out, you can go back to the manuscript version where it was. Now, the other thing is that when a published version is the one that people can actually download when they buy your book or if they've already bought your book. And so a published version can either be private, which is funny. We might change the terminology, or it can be public. What private means is it's sort of more like quiet or silent is probably the term we're going to change it to, a silent publication. That means you published a new version, but you didn't tell anybody about it. That's probably because you just fixed a couple typos and you don't want to spam people with like, I published a whole new version of my book, and they're like, get all excited. And then they're like, oh, it's like a typo. So a silent or private published version of a book is there with a timestamp. So you still know, like if if someone contacts you and says, hey, I found a typo, and you've actually published versions since then, you can track down to where the typo was. But you can also sort of like, you can sort of like match feedback from people to the timestamp basically in your manuscript versions. And so you can know it's that version that they're talking about, maybe things like that. But when you add release notes, when you publish a version of your book, so this means you're announcing to people, you're not just publishing a new version because you fixed a couple things. You're announcing to people there's a major new version of my book out. That's when you do want them to get all excited. Oh, there's a new chapter, that kind of stuff. So when that happens, we actually now indicate that it is a public version. And we've got these version numbering that we've added as well to the manuscript page. So you can just eyeball, oh, that's how many times I've hit the publish button, basically. And by the way, yeah, hitting publish button more than 20 times is common for Leanpub authors. They hit the publish button all the time. When you are an author and you discover that you can update your book by fixing typos or things like that, you will find that you're hitting the publish button all the time. And if it's a public version, that means it's a version that people can review. So if they write a review of, say, this version, that's their review of that version. They can't write another review of that version of the book. But if you published a new public version of that book, you added a new chapter, then they can write a whole new review of your book, which is kind of a very cool way of handling book reviews for books that can change and be added to or corrected, and et cetera, over time. So yeah, that's a pretty simple one for today. You can actually also see there's more information that we capture here, like we're changing This book was probably started, as most Leanpub books are, in the browser mode, and then it was switched to the GitHub mode. So we actually show in the book manuscript history with writing mode changes, which is also very, very, very cool. So that's the manuscript versions page for a book. You find it from the overview page from your book and go in the versions section. You click on manuscript versions. You can see the numbered public versions. So that's when you've hit the publish button. And you can see the distinguish between the big release and kind of silent release. The blog post for this is here on our blog at leanpub.com/blog. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching this video today. I really like doing these and talking about Leanpub features and stuff like that. And not too many people are showing up for them, but that's okay. They're mainly meant, if you happen to come across it, enjoy maybe learning a little bit about self-publishing and Leanpub for a few minutes every day, every weekday. But you can find the recording later on today. It'll be up there forever on our YouTube channel at Leanpub. And yeah, that way you can watch the video anytime at your leisure. You can rewatch it if you need to, scrub back and forth in the video if you missed anything or want to pick up on something new and things like that. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching the live stream today. Again, you can find the recording later on our YouTube channel at Leanpub. And thank you very much for being interested in Lean publishing.